Okay, clearly something's wrong here, right? You should not be playing like this. But what exactly makes this incorrect? Aren't keybinds one of those things that fall under preference? Like skins, keyboard switches, etc. But sometimes, maps are designed for a specific playstyle or fingering ideology in mind, which does dictate how the player thinks about having their setup. However, in our previous example, this is just a normal 4-key map without any sort of preconceived playstyles in mind. And what about the other key counts? Well, there are a few different fingering layouts that are sometimes used over the traditional ones, which we'll be going over in this video. The main reason why someone might prefer an alternative is but I'll explore the reasons as they pop up during this video. Yeah, retention, subscribers. I kind of fell off recently. Could use some engagement. What's your battery percentage? Okay, no one's playing like this, but I have seen a few middle ring and index ring players. With index ring, there's a bit more room between the fingers, allowing for more wrist twisting motions. This can help with stamina conservation, but the ring finger might be weaker than the middle, depending on how used to it you are. With ring middle, something with the anatomy here doesn't make sense. Apparently they share the same tendon. You can kind of see how they cross over or sort of connect when I make exaggerated movements like this. I really don't understand why someone would prefer this over the usual, but everyone's hands are different. 5-key. Two common options here, thumb or ring finger. For those players who aren't experienced with 7-key yet, a lot of 5-key maps might be easier when they just use their ring finger. I used to play like this a lot, especially when starting 6-key. It kind of makes sense, and this really helps with long note releases, as that's still an awkward movement for me with my thumb. Only issue here is that a lot of symmetrical brackets or patterns leading into the middle don't feel as intuitive, as you lose that sort of one-to-one symmetry that you get with the standard layout. 6-key. Nobody is doing this. Literally, you're giving yourself the biggest disadvantage for no reason. Take it one step further, and I couldn't even tell you how to finger this one. This is a possibility, but on the scale of strength, I would say ring and thumb are about the same level anyway. So you're just introducing awkwardness with no real benefit, unless you genuinely find this more comfortable. 7-key. Most of the time, it comes down to just picking which thumb you prefer. I would say it's as simple as being left-handed or right-handed, but I do know a few right-handed people who prefer left-hand thumb. And when you think about gaming on a keyboard and mouse, maybe you already have that preference for hitting the space with your left thumb anyway. But then there's also typing, so yeah, whatever thumb instinctively comes to you, that's probably the one you should end up playing with. There are some strange things I've heard about people preferring pinky over their thumb. I mean, I get it, thumb can get awkward, but pinky just feels like it's working on halftime. So yeah, good luck with these lemon summer looking patterns. 8-key. This one's probably more applicable as the fingering here makes a big difference. You can either go 2 pinkies, 2 thumbs, or 1 pinky, 1 thumb. Unless you're really good with piano, this is just handicapping your speed and stamina, as the pinkies really are the weakest finger for most. This kind of thing does keep everything neat and top row, but again, it's a balance of neatness and strength. This one is my preferred method of playing 8-key. I should probably mention I'm talking about 7+1 and true 8-key. Even with the weird balancing thing of the columns getting shifted over, you just get used to which lane the scratch is in, and all the sort of bracket motions that can happen with the inner 3 fingers of either side, especially with 2 thumbs going on. But with this layout, absolutely no pinky business, so some of the more dense 8-key maps feel way more playable, stamina-wise. I don't have to worry about missing a burst of scratches, all because my finger was too small or weak. This one's the standard layout. People probably don't get into 8-key because of the pinky, which is like, well, 1, again, you can just pick a different layout, and 2, you should probably get used to pinky eventually anyway. But with 8-key, there is the option to postpone that for later. 9-key. And here's the pinky. I would highly recommend the default fingering, where it's 1 thumb and 2 pinkies. Nearly every 9-key ranked map plays into that odd number symmetry, and it's fun to experience the maps as they were intended. Grilled Cheese is one other person I know who does the double thumb for 9-key, so his setup is kind of like 8+1, with how the 2 thumbs define the middle of his layout, but the maps won't reflect that, so it can be a bit weird. To me, it's like, if you were getting comfortable with 1 pinky, you might as well do the other, as it can cause even more strength imbalances later down the road, once you inevitably get to 10-key. Okay, we were kind of leading up to this, but honestly, there's not much to say since we can't really, like, everyone's here, everyone's parked up. 11-key. 12-key. It's like the 10-key layout, but you pick 2 scratches. Pinky, thumb, or even index if you're weird. The how to play sheet does a good job of visualizing this. They recommend you move your pinkies outwards for the scratches, which I do for normal DP, but I don't know, for this layout, I've already gotten used to moving my pinkies upward for the scratches. It's something about that upward motion that really divides up the scratches in my head. It makes this move feel really dynamic. I don't have to worry about mixing up the scratch, trying to finger where my pinky was left off. Instead, I know I always go up and to always come down. Really interesting. I'm sure there's some who prefer thumbs or maybe even to go down for the scratches, but yeah, whatever works for you. 14 key. Getting into some double play, you're supposed to use your thumb here. For most of the time, I try to keep everything neatly on the same keys. Top, bottom with the colors, like how I have my skin. But sometimes patterns like this come up where there's no way you could even, like the notes move too fast for this level of neatness to be maintained. I have been practicing a fingering method that would let me hit staircases while still having everything mentally arranged where each finger should approximately be, but still not that good with it. And in cases where this would be applicable, I can barely hit the patterns, so it's still a long way to go. But really, this is more so of a generalized idea of which area of the keys should have which fingers. And once you get down to playing a map, you might find yourself using different fingers for the same set of keys, depending on what the previous or next notes in the sequence were. So don't get too tripped up about trying to use the correct finger, as there isn't one, and it's just something you gotta get used to. Skipping 16 key since it's the same idea, plus the scratches. 18 key. Similar to 10 key where every finger has a distinct role, the only differences in fingering here is that some people like to have the main keys be on top and move down for the outer lanes and vice versa. And this in itself is not much of a distinguishable difference, so just pick one and stick with it. Briefly, I want to go over the finger strength I was mentioning. Basically, the way I see it is that as you extend outwards, the strength of each finger decreases. Obviously, this can differ person to person, depending on what kinds of activities the person does. But we can all agree that most people, on average, find the main two fingers to be comfortable, and a lot of fingering layouts can be designed around said strengths. To me, it's like if you were getting... What did I write here?